I'm expecting that today's podcast episode is going to strike a chord with a lot of people. And that's kind of the intention. And if you've noticed, if you've listened to any of these episodes, and if you've been in my, I guess in my workshops or my containers, or listen to reels or whatever on my Facebook feed, any of any of the blogs that I've written, and if you've consumed anything, you probably know by now I like to teach, and I'm most comfortable teaching from my own experience. And I am a genius and a master of teaching from the lessons that I've learned. I'm not a master at teaching theory for the sake of theory. I'm not a master at teaching somebody else's experience, but I am a master and I am a genius at speaking from the lessons that I learned through my challenges and my obstacles and my learnings and my epiphanies and all my awakenings. I'm a master and a genius of that. And that's why I share it so much. And that's why I share my life with you so much, because I can teach what I've learned. And I I said about every single day to learn more, because as I learn more, I can teach more. But the power of stories and the power of stories in my own life, and I tell stories about other people's lives, but the power of stories in my life is that I have firsthand experience in that seat of what it felt like, what it was like, what the experience was like in that obstacle, in that challenge, or in that triumph. And I can teach from that place. So I love to teach from that place. Now, I'm gonna I'm gonna take a roundabout way of getting to where I want to go, and I'm gonna go back to probably first or second grade. And and I remember being a very, very gifted student. I was a very intelligent. All my teachers said that I was. They really credited my kindergarten teacher, but I was I was also told that I was pretty bored in kindergarten and I really didn't learn anything. I went in there kind of like an advanced study. But the point is I was told, my parents were told, my family was told in first and second grade, even third grade, that I was an advanced student. I was an accelerated student, and that I had just kind of like an intellectual leg up on people all around me. And that in fourth grade, I got put in fourth grade in an advanced, gifted, and talented class. An advanced and a gifted and talented class. And what they did is they took the very, very best of the fourth grade, which I was in. They took the very, very best of the fifth grade, and they put us together under a teacher. With a teacher. His name was Mr. Henry. And I remember because he was my first male teacher. And I remember the big beard. He had a big beard and he had a big booming voice. And man, I was scared to death of Mr. Henry. Now, I remember crushing first grade, crushing second grade, crushing third grade. But I also remember in first, second, and third grade, first, second, and third grades, that I kind of like got behavioral, like, I don't know, like scolded behaviorally a little bit, because I would talk a lot, and I would talk a lot in class, and I would talk fast, and I would talk to anyone, and I was a talker. And it got labeled as, we need to watch this, behaviorally. And but since academically I was really gifted in first, second, and third grade, there was some grace there was a little bit of grace. But when I got to fourth grade, Mr. Henry's teaching methodology was memorization. Now, he would give us tons and tons of stuff to memorize, and like big, lengthy 2-page paragraphs of history, and big lists of, names and dates and happenings, and just everything with Mr. Henry was memorization. And I remember being an absolutely like awful memorizer, and I still am an awful memorizer at things that I am not interested in. I've never been an awesome memorizer at things that I am not interested in. Now, there's a key element there and a key aspect. And I want to put a pin in that for a second. Since I started really failing fourth grade because I wasn't a great memorizer, and fourth grade was highly influenced under Mr. Henry, it was highly influenced by memorization and taking tests based on the list that he just gave you last week that you had to memorize in your spare time. I started failing fourth grade. And when I started failing fourth grade, not only were my grades looked at, but the behavioral issues that I had in first, second, and third grade, those were accelerated and those were amplified too. So now the talking that I did in first, second, and third grade, which needed to be watched, now became an object of concern because now all of a sudden, because I had academic issues and I talked a lot, now this guy was a problem student. And I got put on a behavioral report card where every single day, Mr. Henry I had to take a piece of paper up to his desk and he had to give me a behavior grade for the day. And there were only like 2 kids in a class of 25, 30 kids that had to do this. And we were the ones who were, we would talk a lot. We were very talkative and we shared a lot and we spoke. We were very outgoing. And academically, we had problems. Now, there were other kids in the class that had academic problems. There were other kids in the class that had behavioral problems, but nobody needed to put this paper in front of Mr. Henry, except for me and this other person with academic and behavioral problems. So when I got kicked out of the gifted and talented class and I got moved in with the average fourth grade students, I started crushing it because there was no memorization. And the teacher's name, I remember to this day, her name was her name was Miss Ruth. That was probably a Freudian slip of some way back then. But the point is Mrs. Newth, or Mrs. Ruth, she didn't give us lists to memorize. She gave us information and fed our brains and fed our minds, and she made learning fun. She made the learning environment fun, but there was no memorization. And she taught us, she nurtured us. She made learning stimulating. It wasn't mundane, like getting a list of 50 names and having to memorize it. And when I got put in with the average kids in this learning environment by Mrs. Ruth, and I really became engaged again, I was also still talking to people and social, but my grades skyrocketed, and suddenly I wasn't a challenged kid anymore, and I'm air quoting. And when I passed fourth grade and I went on to fifth grade, I was in a class with a teacher. I'm still connected to her on Facebook, Mrs. Rostek, and I loved Mrs. Rostek because Mrs. Rostek kept me challenged, but she kept me stimulated in terms of intellectual stimulation. And she was very engaging, and she was very nurturing, and she was very, very comprehensive. But you know what? The thing that I remember is I was still the highlight for behavioral issues in terms of the school had cast a spotlight on my talking. And I was constantly coached, not just at school, but at home, to stop talking so much, to stop wiggling so much, to stop being so intense, to stop talking so loudly. And it was like the fourth grade was really the seed, the seed of talking too much and being too loud and being too intense. The seed was planted, and you know what? That continued on through somewhere around age 44 or 45. When I was in corporate America, I was a Fortune 500 executive level leader. I had managed $65 million, $350 million manufacturing plants and environments. And I had hundreds of people in my charge. And I was constantly told by HR that I was too intimidating, that I talked too loudly, that I was too intense, that I talked too much, that I was demanding, that I wouldn't let people get a word in edgewise, and yada, yada, yada. Talk too much, talk too much, talk too much, talk too loud, talk too intensely. It was just a recurring theme ever since fourth grade. Around age 44 and 45, And if you listen, you know that 43 was a reset year for me. 2016 was a complete reset year for me. But in 2017, 2018, somewhere around 44 and 45, I started getting paid to speak. And I started getting asked to come and speak to groups of people and to groups and communities of people, whether it be organizational teams, whether it be networking groups, whether it be real estate investment associations. I started being asked to come and participate and speak my truth and let my voice be heard to groups of people, increasing sizes of groups of people. And I started to financially benefit from speaking my truth and speaking who I am and speaking a lot and speaking fast and being intense. And when I reflect on that, the same things that now make me a paid speaker who gets paid to travel, and people pay for my travel to go and speak, the same qualities that people pay me to share with their audience was tried. They tried to administrate that out of me and correct that out of me when I was in 4th grade, because I couldn't memorize freaking lists. And it started there, and it stopped when I stopped, or started there, but it stopped. And I stopped worrying about how fast I talk, how much I talk, how loud my voice is, how intense I am. I stopped worrying about it when I started getting paid for those exact qualities. Now, here's the overall message, is that you are born and you are a miracle. There was a 1 in 400 trillion chance, and I think that might be low. Statistically, there was a 1 in 400 trillion chance that you were going to be born, but here you are. You are the product of the strongest sperm in your dad, and you are the winner in a large pool of sperm. Because if another sperm would have won, you wouldn't be here. So you are, right away, you are the winner. And you are a motherfucking miracle. Inside of you, there are desires, there are natural talents, there are preferences, there's a vision, and there's a dream that is unique, that are all of those things that are completely unique for you. And no one else of the 8 billion people, over 8 billion people on this planet, no one else possesses the same combination of desires, talents, gifts, dreams, preferences, aspirations. No one possesses the same combination as you. You are one of one in a world of 8 billion. And here's where things get really, really weird, is because in a world of 8 billion, whatever is exceptional about you was someone probably tried to dim it at some point. Somebody probably tried to correct it out of you. Somebody probably tried to convince you to turn that shit down. Somebody probably told you that they're going to laugh at you if you do that thing. They're going to laugh at you if you be that thing. They're going to reject you. You've got to fit in. You've got to be cookie cutter like everybody else. There's programming and conditioning that has been present for thousands and thousands of years that tries to get everybody to be the same homogenized person, fit into the same freaking mold so that nobody feels uncomfortable and everybody fits in. And all it does is create intense and immense pain and suffering inside of you. And just like my light was my speaking ability, was how fast I speak, how much I speak, the tone I use, the intensity I use, the volumes that I use, the fact that my volume goes up, the volume goes down, the fact that when I'm on a stage, it's more of a performance than it is just a presentation. And I've been told, I was at a speaking engagement and there were 250 people in the audience. And after my 45-minute hour presentation, somebody pulled me aside, and I will never forget this. Somebody pulled me aside and said, I've never seen 250 people not pick up their phone at the same time, because it's more of a performance than it is just a presentation. But somebody tried to beat that out of me, and somebody tried to dim that light, because my light was too bright for them, because they were dimming their light. And in a world of people who are dimming their lights, they don't want us to motherfucking shine. But when you do start to shine, you're going to find out that there was never anything wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not defective. You don't need to be corrected. Your talents, your desires, your preferences, your dreams need to be amplified, not dimmed. I saw a video, and I can't say that this is 100% true, but I liked the meaning of it. I like the concept of it. But it said the most powerful human emotion is authenticity. Now, I don't know if authenticity is an emotion. I think authenticity is a state of being. So maybe the most powerful state of being is authenticity, and the most powerful broadcasting of energy that we could possibly demonstrate in this world is authenticity. The most powerful emotional light that we can share, the energy that we can share, the enthusiasm that we can share, the most powerful aura that we could possibly be wrapped in is authenticity. And whenever you dim your light, whenever you turn parts of you off, whenever you try to hide your talents, whenever you dim your voice, whenever you stifle your preferences, whenever you give up your dream, whenever you don't use your talents, you are giving up your authentic self. And that's the most powerful state of being that you could possibly demonstrate and exude in this human form on this rock that we call the earth. If you're anything like me, you don't fit in. If you're anything like me, you don't naturally fit into society. And you've maybe felt like an outcast from time to time, a misfit. Maybe you felt like an imposter. And I wrote the book on all of these. I wrote the book, The Imposter in Charge. And I had a coaching group at one point called The Misfit Soul, because that's what I felt like. I felt like a misfit soul in this planet where everybody's trying to fit in. And I never, ever wanted to fit in. But I tried to make myself fit in. And all I did was feel more broken as I tried to fit myself into other people's boxes. And the most powerful state of being, the most powerful state of consciousness is our 100% unabashed, unashamed, undimmed authenticity. And in a world of 8 billion, where everyone has different desires and talents, preferences, and dreams, everyone's a misfit. And if everybody demonstrated who they really are and just shine their light and shine their authenticity, we could see how much similar we are in some ways as human beings, but how different we are in our approach to being a human being. But if you look at legacy teaching, and if you look at dogma, and if you look at societal norms, and if you look at what's been handed down from generation to generation, when you look at tradition, and all tradition is peer pressure from dead people. When you look at these things and everything that's been handed down from generation to generation, they're all trying to get people to fit nice and snug inside a comfortable box so everybody can be comfortable and just like everybody else. And all it does is suck the living soul out of everyone. Now, I'm not encouraging you to go and follow every desire, not the ones that are going to hurt people, but follow the ones that are going to lift people up. If your desire creates harm in this world, it's not natural desire, it's ego desire. It's not your soul's desire, it's your ego's desire. But if your desire lifts other people up and inspires other people and is a value and a benefit to this world, follow that desire and it will lead to a happy ending. And if you have that desire, then you have the talent and the dream to see that desire come to fruition. You have everything that you need to be successful. And when you step into your authentic self, your true nature, your soul's essence, there's no way you can lose. You are built to win because you already won the cosmic jackpot in being one in 400 trillion chance that you were going to be born. And you were the winner from the start. Stop dimming your light, turn it up, and let's fucking go.